Hello, everyone. I'm Mystery,
And I am Dalton Mortimer, otherwise known around these parts as the Authenticator, and we are the Duality of Man.
and we're back. I know it's been a while. That was my fault. I had some things to take care of IRL, but we're back, and today we're talking about men and fame. What it's like being a man and having to deal with the trials and tribulations of celebrity.
Well, I particularly wanted to talk about this because I noticed something with regards to recent public relations debacle, shall we say, both the Johnny Depp Amber Heard fiasco that we've already touched on multiple occasions, but also the recent Will Smith slap heard around the world situation, which is to say that um, other social justice, air quotes, issues, people can bullshit their way out of with enough money, clout, or power. Um, no, Oprah Winfrey is not subject to the driving while black rule. The folks behind BLM get to buy $6 million mansions on a whim, and nobody
God,
bats
I
an
was so
eye.
pissed about that. Whenever I
I,
heard that, I was so mad.
yeah, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you can think of 1,000 examples of the 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 feminist or the intersectional social justice narratives breaking down by virtue of, well, this person had enough clout or power, so the alleged human rights issues don't touch them anymore. But funnily enough, and not to play victim for men's rights too much, but it's telling that feminists and social justice warriors had to concoct this whole intersectionality thing to describe how different variables can affect them different people differently. But with men's rights issues and men's issues, it doesn't matter if you're the highest of the high or the lowest of the low or somewhere in between. You're perma fucked if you happen to be subject to men's rights or men's issues at all. You can be a Will Smith or a Johnny Depp. Sucks to be you, Sonny. You're still on the hook. You can be a you can even be a Jeff Bezos. He had to give half of his resources in a divorce proceeding recently, and so on and so forth. So you know, if the highest of the high can't bullshit their way out of it with enough money, clout, and power, then sucks to be them. And also, there are ways in which men's rights issues are not just unavoidable via money, clout, and power, like a lot of other social justice issues are,
They're
but
exasperated by it.
can actually be amplified and exasperated by it because, as we know, the first major victim of hashtag Me Too was Jeffrey Epstein, who was a multi billionaire or multi millionaire um, head of an entire company in Hollywood, and he was
I think
still,
you mean Harvey Weinstein.
or yeah, did I say Epstein?
Yeah.
Okay, but nevertheless, that's another great example. Um, Epstein, who did not kill himself, um, the money, the clout, and the power didn't really save him from being blamed for literally everything under the sun at the whim of the Clintonarchy, shall we say? If we could just stick the word arch or the suffix archy onto the end of things, and it becomes a unfalsifiable conspiracy theory, then I think the Clintonarchy holds a lot more legitimacy than the patriarchy hypothesis.
So, what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about Johnny Depp or Will Smith?
I think Will Smith because it's the more recent and it appears to be the hot button issue for the moment. And we've
Yeah.
already devoted like 20 minutes in the divorce show and like an hour's worth of material in the abuse show to the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing, which we will touch on it again, because the defamation suit is um coming round again just as Fantastic Beasts 3 comes round, and that whole thing is funny in and of itself. But yeah, let's talk about the Will Smith thing.
So I think if we're going to talk about the Will Smith thing, before we get to the slap, we have to go back a few years because the downfall of this man has started a couple years ago.
Yeah, the cuckolding of one Will Smith submitted for
Yeah,
your approval.
yeah, that kind of broke my heart a little because I mean, at that point, just get divorced. I mean,
Well, but
you'd probably both be happier anyway.
the sad thing is, I think he still loves her, but he doesn't understand what he did wrong. Basically, it seems to be, and she, with all of her feminine wiles, has so little self awareness that she will just publicly come out on. I think it was it that show, The Round Table, where she first was like, "Yes, I had a, I forget the word she used, an entanglement with
Yes, I believe
the
she
son,
used to.
the friend of my son," which inherently it's just ew. But nevertheless, um,
Also, that's not a friend.
uh huh. It's I feel really bad for Jaden as well, because it's like, yeah, my mom stooped my best friend, and now it's a public issue when she's using it to pillory my dad in effigy. Um,
Yeah, and
oof.
yeah, I Will Smith like he said that like he was okay with being in a kind of open relationship, but you know that man was suffering. Like the
Well,
Will Smith crying memes,
you could literally see it on his face. Like,
yeah,
and Will
that was
Smith is
just
one of those
pain and
people who
suffering.
has a larger than life personality under most circumstances, and he was like dead silent the entire time. He only spoke when she prodded him to speak.
It's like if she ever had any respect for him at all, she would get a divorce at this point. It That would be more honorable than humiliating him in
Well,
front of
but
the entire
I
world.
I don't think she knows that she did anything wrong. That's the sick thing. In her
But
head,
the
she's still.
worst thing is that, like, at this point, she would have to know. I mean, this is all over the internet. She
But
would have to know that, like, this guy has become like a joke, a meme.
yeah, but she can just brush that off as, oh, people are misinterpreting, oh, people, the people who are criticizing me for this are invalid, derp 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 derp. So in her head, I think she's still the protagonist of this situation. And sadly enough, I think the same is true of Amber Heard. I think she genuinely has bought her own, she's drank her own Kool-Aid, um, and she still thinks that she's the protagonist of the situation somehow.
Okay, so the humiliation with Will Smith starts with him being admitted to being a public cuckold, and did she go on to have relationships with other guys after this announcement?
After the whole August thing, I don't know, but nevertheless, his star had begun to fall at the speed of a lead weight shortly thereafter that, and that I agree with a lot of people who have said that the reason why he was so on edge with regard to the Chris Rock thing was because he wanted to do something, just anything, to prove that he still had um male reproductive organs somewhere in him.
I feel like if he wanted to prove that, then the best thing would have been to just divorce her and date somebody younger and hotter.
Well, but
Like,
that's the
if you
sick.
wanted to
That's
prove that you're still a man, one thing the key to being a man, in my opinion, is having some self respect, not
yeah,
allowing yourself to be treated and abused that way. And I know
yeah,
that it can be hard in relationships, especially when like you're still really attached to that person and you've got kids together, and that's a whole complicated issue.
yeah.
But
The
you
power of
know,
the woman card
do you think it's
compels
good for your
you.
kids to see their father humiliated like this?
Again, I feel really bad for Jaden because he went from being the son of Will Smith to being the son of Will Smith. Mm.
And it gets even worse. So obviously, everybody knows what happens. I mean, the video was everywhere on the internet.
As well, it
Chris
should have
Rock.
been because I don't subscribe to the theory that it was staged. I think it genuinely was a reaction because
I think considering the aftermath, it absolutely was not staged.
yeah, and even if it was, I think it might have been one of those things of like Hollywood was expecting one reaction, and because by virtue of the fact that the aristocracy is out of fucking touch, got the exact opposite reaction. So whether it was
I mean,
staged
this
or
was
not
really
doesn't really
polarizing. I
matter
mean,
because the
I
reaction
saw
was
some
not what was
people.
intended.
I've seen some people like defend Chris Rock, and some people defend Will Smith. So this was a pretty polarizing event.
Which I think it is good that we finally stumble on an issue where you're allowed to have divergent opinions without being an invalid person, quote unquote.
Yeah, that's true. But to make it this of all things, though. But
Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways of going about this. There's the kudos to Chris Rock for taking the slap and continuing on basically as though nothing had happened. Um, Shame on Will Smith for breaking in such a public and uncouth manner. Shame on Will Smith for allowing himself to be so gynocentrically puppeteered that he's basically the enforcer for Jada. Shame on
yeah,
Will Smith for
let's talk about that point just for a second,
yeah,
because if you watch the video, you see that Will Smith laughed in the beginning, like when he first
and
heard the
then
joke,
she
and Jada was the
and then
one
she gave
who
him the
was not
look of
happy.
like you're going to be sleeping on the couch tonight, and
I mean, to be fair, at this point, how is he not sleeping on the couch every night?
I don't know, but that was I was just trying to put it in like ordinary male
Yeah,
terms.
yeah, yeah. I
I
get
think
you.
we're all even those of us who don't engage in relationships with women familiar with the you're sleeping on the couch tonight look.
Yeah. So Jada wasn't happy, and so Will Smith figures he has to do something. And like there were about 1,000 different ways he could have handled that, and he chose
Yeah, and
the wrong one.
he also has to get his own back because his self-respect is currently in the negative integers here. So he's thinking, well, fuck it, I'm gonna go the old school '90s thug route and posture about my manliness by slapping the fuck out of this dude. And
Yeah, and like I think one of the worst things is it was because it was such a mild joke of all things.
yeah,
Like it wasn't even that hard of a joke. Like if he wanted to really take a dig at them, like he could have mentioned, like if Will Smith was going to slap anyone, it should have been his wife's boyfriend.
well, yeah, there's that, and there's also the fact of like Chris. It also makes some kind of difference, I think, that Chris Rock and Will Smith have been friends for freaking ever, like since the '80s. They've been friends, so um, it I in no way did this seem like an untoward joke. It literally seemed like the kind of thing that Chris and Will might have joked about over drinks one night or something. Like,
Yeah, I mean, also like what he yelled after he got back to his seat,
yes,
keep my wife's name out your damn mouth. I mean, like if you want to be concerned about some other guy talking about your wife, Chris Rock is the last person you need to be concerned about.
again, you guys have been friends forever. You know he's a comedian. You know he was ribbing you. You know, and honestly, I think he probably even knows that Chris did like the lightest possible touch he could have. Because if it had been Ricky Gervais instead of Chris Rock, the 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 roasting would have still been burning 2 weeks later.
God, I would give anything to see Ricky Gervais host the Oscars.
But then again, he's another one of those celebrity men who ran afoul of the established order, and neither his money nor his power nor his clout nor his fame did jack diddly squat to save him.
Yeah, and I think what made it really awkward, even after that, was that Will Smith won Best Actor this year. He had to go up and like accept his Oscar and like give a speech and everything, and then everybody just stood up and like give him a standing ovation. Like,
Yeah, and the thing was, his alleged apology wasn't an apology. It was a this is why I was justified in doing what I did speech. And yeah, no, Will, you all you did, lesson one of masculinity on the internet. The more you try to prop yourself up as an alpha male, the more beta you are.
Yeah,
Obviously, according to everyone who's seeing you. So, welcome to 2022. Well, it's not 1992 anymore.
yeah, and I think a lot of the fallout, especially the comments made by Jada herself, just made everything worse. She came out and she said that um, she didn't want him to defend her, that she could defend herself, which is obvious bullshit. Like
That
nobody
you
else,
can
she didn't even
literally
go up
see
to
the
do that.
daggers being stared at him when he starts giggling at the joke. Like you did not just laugh at me being roasted by Chris Rock in the freaking Oscars, did you, Will? No, dear. I'll go sort it out, dear. And
Yeah,
then
she threw him under the bus publicly.
yeah.
On top of everything else she's done to this man.
Because when women weaponize men to be their freaking knights in shining armor slash mafia enforcers, it's the man's fault for actually acquiescing to the thing. Derp. Somehow.
Yeah, and I think one of the worst things that came out of this is that his wife's, I believe, ex boyfriend is now writing a book about their relationship. I believe that was announced.
Oh dear. I if you had told me 10 years ago that one day Will Smith would be the literal black sheep of Hollywood, I would not have believed you. But here we are.
I mean, and also he was uh, banished from the Oscars for a decade.
He still made out better than Ricky Gervais. I'll give him that. Ricky Gervais is effectively a non-entity in the public sphere now. So yeah,
Well, still, like Ricky Gervais is like doing comedy specials. He's got shows on Netflix. He's doing all right. Will Smith, like I believe he there was like a biopic going to be made about him that got
yeah, and
dropped,
they
and
canceled
also
it.
another movie that he was going to make. I think it was Bad Boys 4
Yeah.
got dropped as well.
Although if I'm entirely honest, I'm not grieving the loss of Bad Boys 4 because I like the Bad Boys movies. Don't get me wrong, they're fun, but it very much seemed like they were milking the dying cash cow on that one. So maybe all things considered, better. It was better that they. It's a little bit like with the Johnny Depp thing. While I don't agree with the reasons Johnny Depp was let go from Fantastic Beasts, I maintain that honestly, Mads Mikkelsen should have been the choice for Grindelwald to begin with because he's just a perfect cast for Grindelwald. So, moral dimension aside, just from a practical standpoint, it's probably better for everyone that Bad Boys 4 is not a thing, and it's probably better for everyone that Mads Mikkelsen is playing Grindelwald. Why he wasn't the fucking first choice, I will know. Well, I guess in the case of the first Fantastic Beasts, um, he was busy filming Doctor Strange because they came out around the same time. But you
And
could have
also
left.
Johnny Depp was barely in that one as Grindelwald.
Yeah, you could have just shown the back of Grindelwald's head and left it ambiguous as to who he was, and then had Mads Mikkelsen come in the second one. But um, practical notions of actually doing things that are good for IPs or good for the fans in general, um, aside, the reason Johnny Depp was let go was stupid. The reason he should have been let go or not casted in the first place is because he's not right for the role. I miss the days when Hollywood made decisions for qualitative and meritocratic reasons instead of moral ones, but here we are.
So do you want to get into Johnny Depp now?
Yep.
Okay, and before we get started on Depp, do you want to mention the controversy surrounding the censorship of Fantastic Beasts for the Chinese market?
well, the Fantastic Beasts is basically permafucked from every angle here because you have the loony social justice types, the LGBT activists who hate J.K. Rowling now because she ran afoul of the orthodoxy, so they're boycotting it. Then you've got the fact that, irregardless of whether it's not woke enough for the SJWs, it's still too woke for the anti-SJWs because it's forcing gayness into a franchise that didn't really require it at the behest of J.K. Rowling. So they're not even on her side to begin with. And then you've got the issue of Johnny Depp was fired from playing Grindelwald, not for the obvious meritocratic reasons that I just outlined, if Mads Mikkelsen was the better fit for the character, but for the moral reason of he's accused of abuse, therefore we have to distance ourselves from him, while simultaneously not distancing ourselves from the woman because the woman can do no wrong. Um, so there's that. So and then you've got the normies who just don't like the Fantastic Beast movies in general because their quality has been dipping movie by movie. So there is no
Is this
earthly
the
way that
is this the third movie?
Fantastic Beast is going to do well.
Is this the third movie?
Yes, it's the third movie in the Fantastic Beast franchise. It was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald, Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore. That's this one.
Um, Also, I don't know if you mentioned this, but they still have they fired Johnny Depp, but they still have Ezra Miller.
Yeah, who has for the second time, by the way, been accused of essentially choking a bitch.
It just seems like that guy has gone off the rails.
Well, it sadly enough, I think it's because I know I don't have much room to talk here, but everyone thinks that when men are effeminate, it makes them harmless or some shit. But in actuality, um, because testosterone is actually an affiliation hormone, it's a bonding hormone. Um, Men who lack testosterone actually tend to be more bitchy rather than more um, conciliatory. And
Yeah,
Ezra Miller is a perfect example. He's
yeah.
he's
Let's
gotten in
just
trouble now twice for engaging in what stereotypes would lead us to believe is alpha male dick behavior rather than uh, gay male cattiness.
yeah. Let's just see. Let's just say I know a few people in my life that confirm that hypothesis.
And again, I am fully aware that I am a 5'6" manlet who is gay, so I don't have room to talk with regard to the whole masculinity thing. But hormones are what hormones are, and biochemistry is biochemistry. So
But
the
even
facts are the facts.
but even the people I know who, as you would see, are more bitchy than usual men, like Ezra Miller seems to be a level beyond that because he just seems to be engaging in what I can only describe as really psychotic behavior.
Well, he's also about two shades more effeminate than the average, even like really effeminate twink. Like, remember the Ezra Miller Gal Gadot interview where
Yes,
where he like insisted that she say patriarchy or wrath on this world is over, and she couldn't even bring herself to say it because Gal Gadot
well,
is base
she's a married mom. Like she loves
and an
her husband, so
ex-soldier,
she's not
lest we forget
usually,
about that.
huh?
She also did a stint in the Israeli army, so she's an
Yeah, she was a
ex-soldier as
soldier.
well.
Yeah, and I believe it was in Florida where Ezra Miller like went on a rampage. He I think broke into a couple's hotel room and threatened them.
Yeah,
Like, was he on drugs?
did I, I don't know, but to be fair, every motherfucker in Hollywood is on drugs, and we've never seen Arnold or anybody like that get like no. Has anyone ever had these kind of scandals for somebody like Tom Cruise or Dwayne the Rock Johnson. Now, granted, Tom Cruise is a few a few feet and shy of a full Scientologist just in general because again, crazy Scientology bullshit. But even somebody crazy like Tom Cruise isn't quite this nuts. Like the closest analogy I could make would be like a Mel Gibson.
I was just thinking Mel Gibson.
Yeah, and even then, like that was Mel Gibson in the top of his game, you know, in the full I can slap anyone I want with my dick mode. And
Also, wasn't he going through like a really bad divorce at the time?
yes, so like yeah, it
I
was
feel like that was a trigger for him.
yeah, it was an obvious stressor. It was an obvious stress issue mixed with fame gone to my head. But Ezra Miller is kind of a C-list actor, and he's been basically a non-entity ever since the Snyderverse came crashing down around itself. So he doesn't even
Well, I
have
mean, he
the "I
wasn't a
can do
fan.
whatever I
I guess,
want, fuck you" excuse.
like we mentioned, he wasn't the Fantastic Beast movies too.
Yeah, he was credent, but as somebody who has watched all three of those, or well, two of those now, um, the credence sections of the Fantastic Beasts movies are the least compelling parts of the Fantastic Beasts movies. And the attempt to make him the lost Dumbledore sibling somehow is even more bullshit when you consider that they still haven't done anything with Aberforth, who is Dumbledore's actual twin brother, um, in this franchise yet. And I apologize for my unfortunate level of knowledge with regards to the Harry Potter franchise because I was born at a time when everyone who was anyone was into Pottermania, and
I mean,
one of the first movies I ever watched in the theater was Sorcerer's Stone. So
I was never
yeah,
super into them. I mean, I read all the books because I found them like fun adventures, but I was never like super into them like this so many other people are.
I had a brief time when I was like 6 or 7 that I was really into them, and I just sort of I kept consuming it just on like inertia or reflex for a while. But ironically, the thing that made me the most red pilled on how awful the Harry Potter movies were and the Harry Potter franchise in general is was getting into actual magic and then looking at it like this woman didn't even attempt to make her magic system make any fucking sense. It literally is just whatever the plot calls for at any given moment. So for all
It just
those
seems like
for,
magic in Harry Potter is if you know the words and say it with enough conviction, it'll work.
yeah, and unfortunately, at least in Philosopher's Stone or Sorcerer's Stone, they did make the effort to explain like you have to wave the wand in a particular way with regards to Wingardium Leviosa, and that never comes back. Like they never reference the mechanics of like the like drawing sigils or anything with your wand again. And they kind of brought it back with regards to the or the Universal Studios uh, theme park because in that one you can actually get like radio controlled wands and you actually do have to make certain like sigils in the air with your wand to make certain effects happen. So even theme park logic is better than the shitty magic system that is the Harry Potter franchise. But yeah, for all of those evangelical tradcon family values types back in the day who were worried that Harry Potter is going to convince our children to try witchcraft, cool your jets, guys. It's the lamest magic system ever devised in fiction.
Mm. I mean, they said the same thing about D&D.
Well, D&D actually bothers to at least try sometimes. Like the
Well,
word
yeah,
the word
that's a
the
game and it has rules, and you have
yeah
to
the
like.
yeah the word mana actually comes from a Polynesian word mana, which is essentially like um the Aboriginal and Hawaiian word for like spiritual energy or spiritual force. So that's where, if anyone didn't know, that's where D&D got the word mana from is Polynesian spiritual practices. But nevertheless,
I feel like
off off
we're
topic.
getting off on a different subject
Yeah.
entirely.
Off topic before I magically geek out about how stupid Harry Potter is for the 50th time. But yeah, on back onto the whole Fantastic Beasts fiasco with regards to Johnny Depp, and surprisingly Amber Heard, not, or rather surprisingly for those of us who like consistency, but unsurprising for those of us that know about gynocentrism, Amber Heard is treated like a saint with regards to her film projects. In fact, Mira gets a larger role in Aquaman 2 because fuck you. But Johnny Depp gets canceled from Jack Sparrow, gets canceled from Fantastic Beasts. Um, I don't
Uh,
even remember the last thing he was in. I guess the last thing I remember seeing him in was Mordecai, which, to be fair, that didn't do well,
I'm
but
pretty
that
sure
didn't
that
have any.
came. I'm pretty sure Fantastic Beasts 2 was after that.
Was he? It might have been, but
I'm
regardless,
80% certain.
yeah. But regardless, yeah, he was canceled from Jack Sparrow. He was canceled from Grindelwald, and Amber Heard, and by extension Mira gets a larger role in Aquaman 2 because
The thing
we're
is,
we're totally not completely permafucked by gynocentrism or anything.
yeah, but it seems like things are starting to turn around in Depp's favor. Like there have been some recent events happening. I believe in his court case in Virginia,
Yeah,
and I believe like two of Johnny Depp's exes have come out and said that um, he was, like a kind, he was a gentleman.
yeah.
He never hurt us in any
We
way.
covered this last time. Three women that he had dated previously, including the woman that he had cheated on with Amber Heard, um, uh, defended him. So yeah, either Johnny
Yeah,
Depp is the
but
best
he's
actor
regretting
ever,
that mistake.
or he is actually that much of a hipstery, introverted, saintly dude.
I've heard that Amber Heard's assistant like testified in the trial, saying that she was very abusive to her, uh, to the assistant herself. So
That
this
makes
goes
sense.
with a lot of the other stuff that we've heard because I believe one of Amber Heard's exes actually came out and said that she was also very abusive.
And if I'm not misremembering, wasn't the ex who testified against her also a woman?
Yes, I believe so.
So yeah, there's that. But I think that has more to do with the fact that based on the facts of the case, morality or no freaking morality, um, the facts are the facts, and no matter how many feminist narratives they spin to try and make Amber Heard the saintly one in this case, she is freaking like Cruella de Vil or Maleficent levels of evil. So
Yeah, I mean, you know, everybody knows about the infamous recording. I mean, you think the case would have been closed right there, but
yeah, where he went out of his way to avoid dealing with her, and she literally said, "I hit you because you won't engage with me when we fight." So in other words, I tried to bait you into being an abusive dickhead, and you refused to be an abusive dickhead. And then of course she injures her toes on the bathroom door trying to break it down so she can come in and harass him more, and he at least feigns sympathy for her hurt toes. Ah, that one is going to go down and hit. Honestly, best case scenario for all parties involved, Jada and Amber get in a relationship together and just abuse each other to their heart's content. Because that appears to be what Amber Heard wants. She wants somebody who will act like freaking Bluto or Gaston to her, and Jada has demonstrated every predilection to do that to Will. So why don't you two just date each other and leave all the rest of us sane human beings alone?
all right. So I have this article from The Guardian. Johnny
Oh
Depp was
joy.
not violent drug addict. Sister tells defamation trial. Christy Dombrowski says ex-wife Amber Heard called Depp an old fat man and resented his job offer from fashion house Dior.
Wait, fat?
Yeah,
Like what?
I don't get that either.
I
But
wait. I, the, I feel like we need a bunch of pictures of Johnny Depp because in no definition what's so goddamn ever. Like he is the if they were ever gonna do a live action Nightmare Before Christmas, Johnny Depp would be who I would cast as Jack Sparrow because he could actually do the skeletal mocap for Jack. Oh God, that's like there are insults you come up with in the heat of the moment to derail someone just because you can, but then there's just fucking delusion. And Johnny Depp being fat by any meaningful definition is well in the category of fucking delusion, man.
she apparently she said that they're about class and style, and you don't have style. Heard is alleged to have told her husband.
You were telling the man who played Jack Sparrow this. The entire reason that role caught fire was because of Johnny Depp's style and charisma. You again, I get that angry angry significant others and angry exes come up with ways to insult their significant others all the fucking time. But there's a difference between an insult that at least has some logical basis and the absolute inarguable opposite of the goddamn truth of the matter.
There was this other guy, Isaac Barak. Uh, he was the former manager of Depp's Viper Room Club in Los Angeles. Um, and he was also a personal friend of Johnny Depp. He said that he had witnessed a couple fight, but never violently. Says his family has been completely wrecked by all this stuff, and it's not fair. It's not right what she did. It's insane. Uh, said, yep, she said that Amber Heard was never anything but friendly to him. I fell in love with her, just like Johnny fell in love with her. She was totally gracious, respectful. She had great teeth and treated me with great respect and humor. Total locker room demented humor.
That I'm sorry. I'm thinking that this is one of those the woman card compelled you sort of situations.
Yeah, he says that Heard told him that her husband threw a phone at her and hit her inside the couple's Los Angeles penthouse. He said he never noticed any evidence of abuse on Heard's face. I'm looking and I inspect her face. He said this was in May 2016, and I don't see anything. I don't see a cut, a bruise, swelling, or redness.
Yeah. So if anything, if this incident took place, he probably just lightly tossed the phone at her. It lightly slapped her on the face and then fell to the floor or the table or whatever the fuck. If this took place, which, given Amber Heard's tendency to get every fact of the matter wrong, demonstrably, I think I'm justified in being skeptical of. But if a scenario equivalent to this happened, which seems semi plausible, he lightly tossed the phone at her. It might have slapped her face for a fraction of a second and then fell to the floor. And she has made entirely, entire stacks of hay out of this for like 5 years now. Meanwhile, she literally comes at him with a fucking frying pan, and he's not allowed to be upset by that, according to her, as per the recording.
This trial just got weirder. Apparently, Elon Musk is going to be called as a witness.
Oh dear, this
Yeah,
this is this may be the final like Super Saiyan ascension of Elon Musk.
yeah. Barack did, however, testify that he had seen the Tesla CEO Elon Musk in the couple's apartment. Musk is scheduled to be called by Heard's defense team, who have already told the juror that Depp is obsessed with Elon Musk.
Well, I
I,
mean, if you're gonna be obsessed over anyone in the upper echelons of society, Elon Musk is probably your safest bet. I've taken to just calling Elon Musk the based billionaire of late, and if he comes up there and demolishes Amber Heard, I will seriously be thinking, can we get the nationalized American citizen thing amended so Elon Musk can be president next time around? Because based billionaire continues to be based.
uh, so, Amber Heard's former assistant Kate James accused uh, Heard of being verbally abusive and underpaying her employees.
I mean,
Heard would
normally
apparently
I would just chalk
bombard
this up
James in the middle of
to,
the night with text messages. So she would like text them constantly in the middle of the night.
oh, she was that kind. She Amber Heard strikes me as the IRL equivalent of Miranda Priestley from The Devil Wears Prada, and not in the sympathetic way. Um,
I've never seen that movie, so I'm gonna have to take your word for it.
well, I guess being the gay guy, I have more expertise with regards to chick flicks. But yes, basically, once again, it strikes me that Amber Heard is the real life Cruella de Vil.
All right, so it says between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. the barrage would start. She testified. That's what I would wake up to, all incoherent, not really making sense, just someone to lash out at.
I mean, again, normally I would just chalk this up to secretaries or complaining or using this as an excuse to get some public publicity and whatnot. But this is consistent with everything we have seen from Amber Heard thus far in this case, including shit that she admitted to. So yeah. Like on tape, she admitted to, I I I slapped you, but I didn't hit you. I slapped you because I got angry, and I'm probably gonna do it again because I get angry so often. But I didn't slap you, honey.
Yeah, Heard allegedly screamed at James multiple times over the phone and once in person. During one confrontation over James's salary, Heard went berserk, the actress's former assistant said. She leapt out of her chair, put her face approximately 4 inches from my face, and she was spitting in my face, telling me, "How dare you ask me for the salary you're asking for?" the ex staffer recalled.
It's a, well, no, probably would have been enough, Amber. Like the the word no exists in the English language for just such an occasion. Um, so um, once again, I am struck by the Cruella de Vil vibes I'm getting from her.
Yeah, James described herself as grossly underpaid and said she was later fired because Heard said she could no longer afford her services. The combative ex staffer also described Heard as dramatic and said she did not believe Johnny Depp abused his ex wife, as Heard's attorney have, a, have alleged during the trial. She paid me $25 an hour to start off with, and she finally agreed after screaming abuse at me that she would pay me $50,000 a year once I went full time, and this was after me working for well over 10 years as a personal assistant.
Okay, well, okay, $50,000 isn't much just as a general rule for a personal assistant to begin with, but especially in Hollywood where I assume the property values are fuck off
Yeah,
high.
LA is freaking expensive.
Yeah, I I mean there are horror stories about people in San Francisco being paid, like 500 grand a year and still having to sleep in their car. So, um yeah, no, that uh, again, normally whenever these employer employee tiffs happen, I'm at least skeptical. I'm at least equally skeptical on both parties. But this is consistent with shit that Amber Heard herself has admitted to, i.e., I just get so angry sometimes and I can't control it, so I had to slap you. Um, and also seems consistent with everything everyone else in Amber Heard's life has said, whether they have an incentive to be mean to her or not. So, yeah.
All right. She goes on to talk about the her relationship with Johnny Depp. The former assistant went on to testify that she never witnessed nor heard about any abuse against her from Depp. Just never had any evidence of it at all. I was there almost daily at both her place, then eventually at his place, and ultimately at the lofts downtown, she recalled. It was a daily basis experience, morning, noon, night, all days of the week. So, I mean, I never once saw any evidence of anything. A source familiar with the defense said James appeared to be a disgruntled employee as a result of her being fired by Miss Heard. Asked
Okay.
further, her credibility is called into question as she admitted asking Mr. Depp to be put on his payroll after her termination. She also contradicted her testimony from the UK on a number of occasions and admitted to not being truthful with what she testified. So how are we going to believe anything she says?
Uh,
So it
well,
appears that
well,
she might
speaking
have
of
an
people who have
alibi,
out
but
and out lied
to be
to
fair,
the
her
defense.
testimony does square up with with what other people have said about Johnny Depp's relationship with Amber Heard.
Yeah. And honestly, if this woman was this close to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, I can totally see a situation where Amber Heard blows the fuck up at her and she goes, "You know what? Johnny has always seemed like a reasonable guy. I'll ask him if he needs a personal assistant." That
Yeah, because
seems like
if she's Amber's personal assistant, she's probably gotten to know Johnny Depp pretty well. And if she's been fired and she needs a job, why wouldn't you ask somebody that you are already familiar with?
especially when said person is a multimillionaire and famous and if any of this is legitimate, then it it implies that she knows that Johnny is the sane one and was like, you know, fuck Amber Heard with a 10-foot pole, but I wouldn't mind working for Johnny. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show like Amber Heard claims all this abuse, all this rape from Depp, but like nobody who knows them has ever seen anything.
Yeah, and okay,
You think if it was this big of a deal that somebody would have noticed or said something?
I mean, there's always the little plausible deniability thing of, well, they're famous, they hush people up, and so on and so forth. But
Well, yeah, but
th-
even when they're in the middle of a trial, like when they're being called and sworn under oath, nobody sees anything.
yeah, and I very much doubt Johnny Depp is this scary like fucking Gaston from Beauty and the Beast type person when he's behind closed doors or some shit. So I don't think it's out of fear or anything. I mean, fuck. Again, like we said the last time we covered this, if anyone has an axe to grind with Johnny Depp, it's the woman who he cheated on with Amber Heard. And so you would think if she had a petty bone in her body, she would use this as an opportunity to have Johnny over a barrel to get him back for dumping her. But
Yeah,
she she even came up to the plate and was like, "No, he's awesome. I would date him again if the opportunity presented itself. She's a fucking crazy bitch."
yeah, and let's not forget, like when Amber Heard made these claims of abuse originally, the police actually investigated. They found no evidence that these events had taken place.
Yeah, so either Johnny Depp is like a lifetime movie villain who can cover up his tracks like fucking Hannibal Lecter or some shit, or she's a lying histrionic bitch as she has admitted to on tape. She admitted that she has anger management issues and that it sometimes drives her to violence, and that she was likely to do it again. She admitted on tape. So either Amber Heard is lying about Amber Heard, or or the people who are saying all these things about Amber Heard have a point, or at least some basis for that point, and Johnny Depp is as reasonable a guy you can reasonably expect from a hipster from Hollywood. These are the two reasonable options. Either Amber Heard is so gaslit she lied about herself on tape, or Johnny Depp is largely the victim in this. And again, most cases of abuse are in some way mutually combative, but Amber Heard's own description of why she hits Johnny Depp was, "You won't engage with me when we fight, so I feel the need to hit you." So,
There's a bit more here. She also details incidents of abuse she witnessed and heard from Amber's family members, including her sister and mother, who was terrified of her, the source said. So apparently, Amber Heard wasn't just, aggro at Johnny Depp, but also her family members as well.
okay, how is this woman still not in jail? If you're abusive to your own goddamn mother and sister, like what the actual hell?
Well, the thing is, with family, like even if like somebody is like super angry and yelling all the time, like they're your family. Even if
Yeah,
you're upset with them, you don't want to
you
see them
give
in
a
jail.
certain level of leeway, but still, like how much crazy does she have to be to break that unspoken, hush money of family connection?
You know,
It's
her family cares about her, so they don't want to see her in jail. I mean, she has it. I'm sure she has enough money to buy some people to be quiet. She's attractive, and men will forgive an attractive woman a lot of things.
well, again, it's also like she's a famous actress with starring roles in movies the size of Aquaman, so she probably does have some degree of fuck you money, especially when you consider how much she got from the divorce. So, but anyway, we we have now spent an extra 20 minutes talking about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard thing. Um, but
How do you think this is all going to play out in the end?
hmm?
How do you think this is all going to play out in the end?
My suspicion is Johnny Depp is going to be vindicated. Amber Heard is going to be revealed as the monster that she appears to be, and Hollywood is going to quietly do a heel turn where Johnny gets extra shit heaped on at his feet, rightfully so, and Amber Heard is going to be hushed away. Hopefully after Aquaman 2 comes out, because I don't want to see Aquaman 2 get negatively impacted by this, because she may be an evil cunt, but the fact of the matter is, if Aquaman 2 is a good movie, then it deserves to do well. Just like, one of my all-time favorite movies is Roman Polanski's The Ninth Gate that happens to star Johnny Depp, which, by the way, Johnny, if you ever see this and you want to pay me back for defending you, make a Ninth Gate 2 if you please. But even though Roman Polanski was at one point revealed to be a horrible, horrible human being, The Ninth Gate is still an awesome movie, and it deserves all the praise that I can heap upon it. And that won't change just because the people behind making something are amoral twits. So it, I don't want to see Aquaman 2 suffer as a result of this, especially if it's good. But um, Amber Heard either needs to be typecast as villainesses for the entire rest of her career, or she needs to disappear.
You know, I think in regards to both cases of Johnny Depp and Will Smith, like the women in their lives or the woman that they chose just seem like to have no care for them. I mean, Johnny Depp appears to at least have had relationships with women who did actually care about him, and they just didn't work out for whatever reason. But eventually, he just made the wrong choice of choosing Amber Heard. And in Will's case, like he and Jade have been married for a long time, but at some point, you have to have enough self respect to walk away. It just seems that
Yeah, and
you know,
I also don't think that the bad things that Jada have done are isolated incidents. This seems entirely consistent with her personality in general. So one wonders how long Will Smith has been um tied to the ball and chain without us even realizing it. How many hours of every day had she spent degrading him and belittling him and shitting all over his self-worth without us realizing it?
I
Because
mean,
I
he,
very
I
much
mean,
doubt this is a new phenomenon.
I mean, I wouldn't call Will Smith if he wanted to could leave whenever he wanted. Like even if he got divorced, he wouldn't be broke, and he can still act, so he would still have a lot of money coming in. Like I just don't understand what is it about this woman that even after this much humiliation and disrespect and you know public embarrassment, hurting his career, making him essentially the butt of jokes of most of the Western world, just he
Well,
still will not.
because if he had said anything or done anything, then a bunch of feminists in the mainstream media and the online media are going to say Will Smith, men's rights advocate, and then he gets slandered from that direction. So unfortunately, again, it very much seems like the or a line of delineation between modern day social justice issues, quote unquote, and men's rights issues and men's issues is social justice issues you can buy your way out of with enough money, clout, power, or behavior. But but men's rights issues affect everyone from the highest of the high to the lowest of the low and every fucker in between to some degree. Because no amount of acting like a woman is going to, like as much as I hate as much as the way I hate this is framed, black men can get respect if they shape up right and quote unquote internalize whiteness. But men who transition to women, trans women, as we've seen, don't get any more respect for being trans women. Um, effeminate men don't get any more respect for being effeminate. In fact, even though a lot of feminists will say they want a man who shuns traditional masculinity, they want a man who's more sensitive and more feminine. When they get one, all they can think and all they can do, and there are articles aplenty to demonstrate this, is why won't my effeminate guy behave more like a traditional man for me? Well, because you selected him not to be traditionally manly, you evil so and so. Um, but yeah, that's the point. No amount of men internalizing femininity um will ever get them off of the men's rights and men's issues treadmill, and no amount of hypermasculinity will get you off of the men's rights and men's issues treadmill. We all know the overly, performative hypermasculine rapper types still get fucked over in divorce proceedings, in custody battles, and every other fucking thing in between. So no amount of masculinity will get you out of it. No amount of femininity will get you out of it. No amount of um, cucking to feminism will get you out of it, because we all know the negative stereotypes about male feminists, spread by both anti-feminists and feminists themselves a lot of the time, funnily enough. So yeah, no amount of worldview change, no amount of identity change will get you out of men's issues. Whereas intersectionality implies that social justice issues can change with the fucking winds. If you have enough clout and enough power and enough status, then no social justice issue needs to touch you. But no amount of status or power will ever stop a men's rights issue from touching you. And I'm not saying, therefore, men's rights issues are more legitimate, but it certainly is a factor that I think does lend credence to the idea that the modern day equivalent um, of Jim Crow can be found in places like um, the family court system and in circumcision and so on and so forth. So if our modern day era has a equivalent to the civil rights movement, I think it's more accurate to say that would probably be something along the lines of the men's rights movement than it would be to say that social justice is equivalent to it.
Yeah, and I mean, when you think about it, when hasn't there been a problem in the last 10, 15 years that people haven't tried to turn around and say how it affects women the most?
Yeah. You know, the old internet cliche standby at this point is meteorite hits Earth, killing off 70% of the Earth's population. Women most affected. Hillary Clinton came right out and said women are the primary victims of war because their uh, husbands, sons, and brothers die.
You know, they always trot out the completely false statistic of the wage gap, but nobody ever mentions the spending gap. Like, men earn more of the money, yes, but women spend vastly more of the
Yes,
money. Like, the
w-
spending
w-
gap is huge. Men may be earning the money, but it's women who are spending it. And if you
yeah,
can spend basically,
women do the majority of the spending, and also, lest we forget, that men give a lot of the excess money they get to their wives, girlfriends, and significant female others.
like, I mean, if you could like earn less than half the money but spend 70% of it, that's a good deal.
Well, it's like I imagine the wage gap between the plantation slaves in the Reconstruction era South was was quite a bit more than the plantation owner earned, but the plantation owner still got custody of everything that said slave earned, didn't they?
Yeah, and since we're talking about men and fame, I think I just want to touch on this real quick. But you know, a lot of people don't really tell guys when they become rich and famous, like how to navigate relationships, because relationships are hard enough for like normal guys. But when
Yeah.
you're famous, like it becomes very, very difficult whether or not somebody is genuinely interested in being with you, or they're just interested in the say millions of dollars that
Yeah,
you
the
have.
money, the clout, the power, the fancy cars and toys and shit, and yada yada
Some
yada.
people may not even seek a relationship. Some people like I've heard stories of women who just try to have sex with the guy so she can get pregnant, and then basically use the kid to extract wealth from the guy.
And that's not even counting all of the just straight up gold diggers there are who will get with a extremely rich and powerful person like 10 years before they croak so that they get written into the will, and it's like, a billionaire passes away, he leaves behind his wife who is now $500 billion richer. Funny
Yeah,
how that
and
works.
we should also mention the sugar baby relationships. Like I've heard a story that a lot of young women after they get out of college, if they're like super hot, they will like become sugar babies to like these really wealthy guys, and like they'll like travel with them, like go on dates with them, have sex with them, and they will not give a damn about the guy. They will only care about how much money that they can get for being in this relationship. And then when they feel like they've gotten enough, they will leave. Like they would
Yeah,
just
and
like bye,
and
see
I
ya.
I think it's very creepy, and I actually have some experience with this because it happened in the gay scene too. I've had many wealthier older men hit on me on dating apps and wanted me to be their sugar baby, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to feel like a prostitute. No, thank you.
I mean that's
Just be, just
that is
because
a, it's
I
prostitution with extra steps.
Well, it's prostitution with actually worse steps, because at least the prostitute, you know, the implication is, as long as I get paid, I'll offer you whatever I want to offer you. But with uh the gold digger situation, with the sugar baby situation, and I think to some degree with the OnlyFans situation, which is like the modern, new modern frontier of this exact paradigm. Um,
It's like industrializing um sugar baby behavior.
yeah, and in those relationships, the woman in question does feign a parasocial, at least, connection to her marks.
I mean, at least with prostitutes, you know it's just business.
Well, even, and the funny thing is, I've heard stories from professional prostitutes who say they actually do get more attached um to their marks, or to their johns rather, um as the relationship goes on, because in a lot of cases, um men who seek out prostitutes don't even want sex. They just want intimacy of an emotional kind. Like, there are plenty of cases where men will pay for the girlfriend experience just so they can have somebody to sit there and listen to them while they vent about, the negative things that are happening in their lives. So, you know, I, 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 I still maintain that it would be better for everyone if prostitution was legalized, because I don't see any reason why it shouldn't be. Um, and also, it's worth noting, it seems, that old school traditional prostitutes actually have more empathy for their male clients than OnlyFans women do, or gold diggers do. So there.
To be with OnlyFans, like there's like 1,000 of them, and they're just names on a screen donating you money. You don't
Yeah.
like. It's very easy to separate them from the
It's the
thing.
harem of bank accounts, basically.
Yeah, that's an actual really good way to put it.
Yeah. And the really sick thing is, with traditional prostitutes, they actually have to be able to read their johns, their clients, and engage with them on an intimate, interpersonal level to make whatever they're selling convincing. But with OnlyFans women, they basically have to put on a one size fits all glamour, and and basically sell every man who sees her that same experience. And honestly, again, if we must abide by one of these, I would much rather the old school traditional prostitutes be legalized, and then maybe OnlyFans would dry up because people realize they can get a actual physical woman in the bargain, rather than just the parasocial facsimile of um affection.
I think the worst of both worlds is the sugar baby relationships because um a lot of these girls will be with the guy for like a few years, and they will go on trips together, like dates and everything, and like the guys will like actually, open up to them and like try and form a real bond, and they do not give a damn. Like, how
Yeah,
can you
no,
spend all that time with somebody, have them open themselves up to you, and still just not give a shit?
it's like freaking cousin Mel from Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, basically. Like, god damn it. It's sociopathy with it's sociopathy with makeup on, basically. Um, it's it's sadistic, honestly. Um, and that's one of the reasons why, whenever I get those kind of offers on gay dating apps, I always feel really awkward about rejecting them, because these men are just looking for intimacy, basically, and I understand that. But if I can't offer that to you, then I can't just I number one, it makes me feel like a whore, which is not a feeling I like to begin with. Number two, if I was to acquiesce to that, I would feel compelled to give you your money's worth, and I can't justify doing that. So I have to say no, both for my sake and yours. And for some reason, that just doesn't appear to be a line of thinking in the heads of these um, manipulative prima donna bitches who can bleed someone. Basically, it amounts to basically selling your soul to someone and then not even getting your money's worth.
I mean, I mean, at least this does answer some questions that I had a few years ago. Because like a friend of mine would show me these pictures of these like attractive women on Instagram. I'm like, wait a minute, these girls are in college, same as us. How the hell can they afford all these trips and boats and shit? I'm like, now I know why.
Well, it's very much like the old joke. Brother and sister um, are teenagers. He works, she doesn't. Um, Brother asks sister, I work two jobs and I never have money, whereas you don't work at all and you always have money. What's the deal here? And she responds, it's because I have a boyfriend and you have a girlfriend.
Hmm. Ain't that the truth?
I I I, I mean, I get to sort of opt out of all of this shit and be like, haha, I'm gay. I gave the system, man. I don't have to deal with this female bullshit. But at the same time, um, the more effeminate gay guys have the worst aspects of womanhood in them. So I don't think I entirely gave the system here.
Yeah, meanwhile, here I am over here, just
Yeah, well, woe betide those of us who can think in in this mad, mad world we find ourselves in.
all right.
Whether you're a prince or a pauper, the reaper of men's issues still comes to you.
Yeah. All right. So we've been going for a little over an hour. I'm gonna call it. This has been a really great conversation. I really like that we caught up with what's going on with Johnny Depp and discussed the unfortunate downfall of Will Smith.
Yeah, the literal blacklisting of Will Smith. Although to be fair, in addition to all of the things we've discussed so far, I just want to give a slight shout out to the fact that they rebooted Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as a like cheesy Lifetime movie drama
Like
with
that
with like
is so
BLM
awful. Like
talking points, and
they took
that's gotta hurt
everything.
too.
They took everything that was good about it and just destroyed it.
Yeah, like at least the um like darker, more fantastical reboot of Chilling of Sabrina, from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. At least there was an interesting concept there, and there was room to um, exploit that take on it. But the new
I
Fresh
mean,
Prince of
it
Bel
was
Air is
still
literally
cringe,
just
but
BLM the show.
yeah, Sabrina was still cringe. It was just cringe that had the potential to be good.
Well, if they had just removed all the social justice isms from Sabrina, it would have been fine. But but Fresh Prince of Bel-Air as a drama with BLM talking points. Can I get all the no for that, please?
Ugh.
Anyway,
All right. I've been Mystery.
I have been Dalton Mortimer, the Authenticator, and we have been the Duality of Man. Cheers, everyone.
Bye, guys.